Hello, Dota 2 fans, and welcome back to the Galaxy Battles Emerging Worlds NA Qualifier. For those of you that tuned into the earlier series today, Immortals able to, I don't want to say stomp. The second game was a pretty hasty win for them earlier today. They move on to the grand finals. So Immortal's going to face against Leviathan. Winner will move on to face Optic in the second stage. These two teams looking for a spot in the grand finals alongside VCJ Storm. And so the winner of this matchup versus VCJ to face up against Complexity Gaming in the second stage. So starting to boil down to the wire it is in this North American qualifier. Hope you guys have enjoyed your Sunday thus far. So this will be a best of 3 between these two squads. I have to say, Wheel didn't look all that bad in the series I've seen for them previously. I haven't seen much of CES, but some definite recognizable names here. KVH, Annihilate, MJW have been kind of floating around NA for a very long time, and would certainly consider all three of them pretty solid players. I'd say KVH probably the youngest though. Annihilate and MJW have definitely seen for some time now. On the other side, YJS, Derp. These are also kind of recognizable names as far as high-level pubs in the North American region go. Your FPL regulars, so to speak. Fairly typical bans thus far. With Bane, Omni Knight, Wyvern being removed. Tidehunter is an interesting one and has been really kind of pole vaulted. Really kind of scaling the ladders as far as priority goes in picks in North America. Totally lost my words there. End of the day, so hopefully I have enough left to get through this series. But this is another hero that we've seen a lot early on. These kind of early fighting, lane dominating supports have been held in high esteem by all of these players recently. This is not a hero we see all that often, and we do see it from time to time, but definitely have not seen it in the first phase of the draft. So it'll be interesting to see if CES have something in their back pocket, perhaps some sort of flexing him to a 4-position strat. But if not, this is gonna reveal their safe lane pick rather early. So can leave. We can see Wheel leave their offlane selection till very late. They could have 3 or 4 different heroes in mind that might fare well against this gyrocopter. Tidehunter would have been a decent one. But he is removed from the pool by Wheel, so maybe that's kind of why CES see an opening. Razor also a pretty darn good gyrocopter. A hero to have against the gyrocopter, whether in lane or in the game in general. Yeah, it is a bit early. I suppose you have the Bloodlust as well from the Ogre. Earth Spirit Disruptor, a little bit more typical opening from Wheel here. So again, Wheel did drop their series to VCJ Storm yesterday 2-1, but didn't look all that bad. In fact, they look like pretty good contenders. CES had to take Leviathan rejects to 3 games, and Wheel dealt with Leviathan rejects in 2. So I would certainly consider them a favorite. And this opening from CES is a bit odd to me, but they made it past Leviathan rejects. So we'll see what kind of moxie they bring to the table in this series. Brewmaster ban is going to come out from Wheel Wreck. They already have a decent hero at dealing with him in the Disruptor, but Brewmaster is a hero that is rather difficult to, knock out of lane early on as an Earth Spirit. Can trade pretty well with the Drunken Haze and the Drunken Brawler. Is just innately somewhat tanky as well. So, to some extent, it makes sense. With a Gyrocopter and a Brewmaster, you would have teamfight in spades as well. So perhaps just kind of denying this mass teamfight lineup that to some extent CES may be revealing they want to assemble. Viper ban actually comes out from Wheel. So it really looks like they're setting up for their cores here with the Viper and the Brewmaster taken out. Almost feels like they're thinking like Spectre or something like that. Just kind of taking these heroes out that can pressure some safe laner of that nature. Maybe they just want to have one safe laner with the Disruptor and allow the Earth Spirit to roam a little bit freely. Moose did his best Francis Lee impression yesterday against VTJ Storm, and he was pretty proficient on the Earth Spirit, I must say. So we'll see, what kind of work he can get done here. Juggernaut Lifestealer bans coming out from CES. As they've got their safe laner already, and we'll kind of have the pick of the litter prior to those bans. So two heroes that deal nicely against magic damage. Of course, a big part of the Gyrocopter's ability to have impact in the early game is, through utilizing his magic damage dealing abilities. And so we see the Clockwork come out from CES's side. Can kind of shadow the Earth Spirit in some ways, can play that kind of nomadic roaming role as well. They can flex him to the 3 position, but that'd be 2 cores showing in the first 3 picks for CES. So some part of me does expect a 4-position Clockwork, and then another half of my brain is saying, well, 2 melee supports seems kind of odd, especially versus Disruptor and Earth Spirit, who can, punish heroes in close proximity. So could just be a core Clockwork for CES. Batrider going to come out from Wheel's side, and to some extent, this feels like more punishment for a couple of melee heroes already showing. Having your mana burnt as Batrider is annoying, but being able to escape ultimately gonna be great to have, and it will be a 4-position Clockwork more than likely here with the Abaddon pick. So there's a lot of melee heroes for CES's side. Huh. So Abaddon kind of the direct counter to the Batrider. If you can get an Aether Lens or a Blink Up, Aphotic Shield removes the lasso. But that's not the reason. Batrider is no longer this hero that simply has an initiation tool for you. And, we see Sand Kings, the evolution of the build on these types of heroes that used to just straight up rush Blink. And they start going for things like drums early on. So Batrider can really just dominate your lanes, cut your waves, kind of be a little bit out more aggressively in the lanes on the map, and it doesn't rely entirely on finding kills with that lasso. So, I don't know that this direct response Abaddon is necessarily solve the issue of the Batrider in lane, especially if he's got an Earth Spirit to join with him. So we'll see how the Gyrocopter and the safe lane ultimately fares. They do have the Bloodlust and the Ignite, and both of those tools, net will make your movement speed a lot better versus the Batrider. So perhaps they do feel safe from the Firefly, but I definitely feel like with 2 melee supports, you're a bit worried having your Batrider or facing a Batrider in lane. Then again, they could go aggressive. Clockwork, Gyro, Ogre are certainly 3 capable heroes of playing in an aggressive nature. But then you've got an Abaddon 1v1 versus Bat, which isn't terrible. You kind of just save your Aphotic Shield for when the stacks build up to a point where you're threatened. But thinking of the options. Not too many other heroes that lane very well against Batrider with the Lifestealer out of the pool. You know, Weaver comes to mind, but it's just kind of awkward for CES to go for one of those heroes that can lane straight up 1v1 against the Bat, because that'll mean, you know, either a Batten or a Clockwork mid. So I suppose Gyro is an option as well, but just an awkward mid laner regardless. So OD, we haven't talked about yet for Wheel's side. A lot of control around him, and that is, you know, more than what you can ask for as an OD player. You've also got the potential saving defensive banish, you know, on top of, you know, inside a set of cogs. So OD's an interesting pick. You're going to be into a Blade Mail as Clockwork, but, you know, Gyrocopter, high agility hero, kind of low base HP pool. So, you know, the Arcane Orb damage should be able to kind of cut through that. Gyrocopter builds generally sort of Yasha intensive, agility intensive. It's either a Mantle or an SNY, usually after something like Mask of Madness or Aquila, and perhaps all three. Then you transition usually into a Butterfly, from what I've seen. So ODs to some extent can deal with that, and this is a really cool pick from Wheel. So this is one of the options I saw as CES having to deal with the Batrider, and they're going to pick it up for themselves here. And in some ways, it's a recognition of lack of lockdown as well. And so CES, they do go for a standard mid laner here in their puck, kind of to deal with this QM Weaver. But amongst, you know, the Abaddon, Clockwork, Ogre, Magi supporting cast, you really have nothing to deal with a Weaver. You have to get lucky, hope he's standing on the same spot for 5 seconds, and cog him in, because at that point he can't time lapse out of the cogs. But that is like, but amongst those three heroes, Fire Blast is a very short duration, short range, high cast animation stun. So certainly not reliable at taking out a Weaver. And your Gyrocopter, you know, he offers you homing missile, but, you know, Weaver can more than prepare for that homing missile and retreat with max move speed as long as he's got mana. So really like the Weaver pick from Wheel's side. I Annihilate Puck, he's certainly comfortable on this hero. And slated to have a decent matchup against the OD mid, but, you know, with an Earth Spirit roaming around, sure, there's kill potential on the OD mid with the Clock and the Ogre, but I feel like there's no, with a 4-second banish. Okay, am I crashing? What's happening, boys? Have I dropped frames? I have not dropped frames, as far as I see. Oh boy. That was new. That was different. Okay, Potato. Attempt number 2. Oh, someone else asked if the game crashed. So this is, I suppose, a full-on possibility. Alright, we're in, and the overlay is having its way with me, and everyone seems to have kind of jumped out of this web. It seems like things have smoothed out. So there, I would say there is some kill potential, but not without reaction. Earth Spirit, Disruptor, both good TPs into YJess's lane, and 4-second banish against the Clockwork Puck Ogre. Your OD should be able to at least survive until there is some sort of reaction. Really like Wheel's draft overall. I feel like it's, from CIS's side, it's pretty heavy in towards team fight, and they're so mobile as a unit for Wheel. They can just dodge these fights, and then you don't have heroes necessarily that threaten buildings on CES's side. I mean, you've got an Abaddon, Curse of Avernus is nice, and he's, you know, more than capable of sitting in the front lines, but you don't have this like traditional siege type hero. You really need to feed off of team fights and snowball your advantage and take objectives off the back of team fights. With a Banish, with a Shikuchi, with a Rollout, with a, you know, Glimpse and Firefly, Flame Break even to an extent, Wheel have so many tools to extract themselves from any sort of poor looking engagements. And then it's, you've got heroes that just aren't comeback heroes. You know, in the Abaddon, Clockwork, and Ogre Magi. Puck and Gyro can be decent at farming lanes and farming ancient stacks in the case of the Gyro, but I just think Wheel have a much better fallback plan in this game. And you know, they've got the Bat Rider to kind of shove waves against the Puck. So now I'm sure that as I rest my case, CES will absolutely stomp Wheel in 20 minutes. Simply to make an ass of me. But in any case, you know, they were very convinced of this Gyro pick in the first phase, so must be something they're comfortable playing for KVH. And you know, hopefully for his sake, Wolf can make enough movements, enough impactful movements to get him involved. Who's in QM behind the tree line, looking just to pop smokes here. QM, of course, the kind of safest hero at this point in the game, with a Shikuchi available. Nothing like a Rubik lift or instant cast point stun, so he'd have to be cogged to die, it feels, and that feels like a very difficult task to achieve. So bot lane looks like MJW and Wolf will assume position on the Radiant Ward, but on the opposite side of the map, Onox should be able to grab the Dire one. So standard 2 for 2 per side. And YJS will have his lane blocked up by Derp. I Annihilate will do the deed for himself. And QM actually making his way, well, thinking about making his way. Not sure what he's doing exactly on the Weaver, but has a TP, so we'll keep tabs on that. For now, Derp in the mid lane, heals up the Thunderstrike, and we'll put that up on the I Annihilate Puck. Okay, so far it's just the Earth Spirit AFK in bottom lane, and QM doing a little casual stroll. So he'll miss a CS or two there, but shouldn't matter all that much in the grand scheme of things. Has already forced into the Firefly. Onox makes his way down to the low ground. Mario will have another Ignite in 3 seconds, but don't think he poses much of a threat to the Bat Rider here. Derp makes his way back bottom, and QM will resume his duties as a safe laner, which are to hit creeps. Mostly. Securing the range creep mid lane. YJS going to use that Astral Imprisonment. I was going to say Bastral Imprisonment. I guess that's what you do when you give your bastard child timeout. Bastral Imprisonment. Roll forward. Bottom lane is going to find MJW. He does have an Emphatic Shield. Will purge off the slow, but the Thunderstrike is going to be there from Derp. No glimpse, no level 2 for the Disruptor just yet as QM chases forward. Gets a little bit of his mana burn with the cogs, and Moose kind of trapped in the dome with the clockwork, but will be forced out. Thunderstrike going to be purged off by MJW, but beforehand did accomplish canceling his salve at least. Wolf rotating through from the north side. Moves, though, close enough to the cliff where he can just roll up to safety. Wolf actually going to try and find him. Pops off the battery assault and will start to get to work on him. He tries to get near the creeps, but can't do so. Tacking into the cogs, and this clockwork may just find himself a kill. Rolling up the hill with the Fairy Fire. Wow, what a play by Moose. Talked about him doing his best Flea impression yesterday, and it still looks pretty comfortable on that Earth Spirit. Again, Onox trying to do some farming here top, and trying to drag the wave down to a favorable position. He is going to catch a homing missile here, and actually does take quite a bit of damage. Now Ignite going to go out, a couple of right clicks from the creeps, and he could be in trouble. No Orb of Venom, though, on Mario, and he will just walk away, having boots. And, you know, when all is said and done, he does kind of accomplish his goal, and that's to drag the wave back behind his tower. And for his convenience, it kills off his range creep first, which is great. It'll actually force the wave to push towards his side. So, all's well that ends well. Early game, though, CS-wise, dominated by CES. And, you know, when you've got the two letters C and S in your team name, would make sense that you're pretty good at last hitting. And some of that is kind of the walk that QM did in the early going. I found a roll and chose to move the camera away from it, but iAnnihilate will be just fine. He's a tough kill in the mid lane, as pucks generally tend to be. Bot lane pressing forward Wolf, looking for Derp alongside MJW. They won't get much done here, as QM just throws a few right clicks, still working on his CS, but ensuring that MJW can't chase too deep. Again, Onox being a nuisance top lane will snag the bounty rune. He's level 4 on this Bat Rider, and comparing to the Clockwork and the Abaddon, since they've been together for the most part, they are level 3 apiece. But, you know, to CES's credit, they've only really kept their safe laner top in the Gyrocopter, and, you know, the Bat Rider hasn't done all that much to threaten him. MJW pops the stick up, has us have an aphotic shield. Swarm is going to go out. QM, for that reason, is just going to kind of lay off. Moo's going to get homing missile ignited up. This could be a big trouble for the Earth Spirit. Tries to roll away, gets blocked up by KVH. And now with a couple stacks of napalm, Onox looking for a return kill here, but he won't find it. And yeah. So here I am thinking Bat Rider has a good lane this game, and hasn't really turned out that way. Gyrocopter, highest CS on the board. Against the Clockwork Abaddon, QM has kind of struggled. Perhaps just, you know, bit of discomfort on the hero. Haven't seen QM play a Weaver, at least recently. But yeah, he is, you know, a good couple of waves behind the Gyro, his laning equivalent. Wolf rotating mid lane. YJS does have the imprisonment level 3. Range is still rather short, but you know, should be able to be safe in that mid lane. I'll keep an eye on it. Top lane, KVH playing very safe. As they catch a glimpse of Derp, Wolf thought about rotating towards him on the Clockwork, but now goes back towards the mid lane where the coil is used. Waning Rift is going to be there, and they get him in the cogs, but he will be able to banish up the clock. However, iAnnihilate should be able to kill off YJS. Needs a couple more right clicks. Rocket Flare is there. Salve up in between, or just after from YJS. He dodges the orb as well. Beautiful play from the mid laner. And he does that all by himself. I spoke about how in the beginning there should be reactions towards the mid lane. Those reactions came late, and YJS survives all on his own skill and merit. Beautifully played by the wheel mid laner. Still 2-0 though for CES and a 2K net worth lead at the beginning of this one. CS, as you can see, heavily dominated by them. 7-minute mark. And Derp is nearby, looking to punish MJW here. He did drag some tower aggro in, but is level 6. Borrowed time is going to get popped there, and he's going to try to continue to run at the Disruptor. The kinetic field will keep him from doing so, though. Swarm going to fly through as well. Derp still trying to juke, makes it through the trees and into vision of the creeps. And MJW is just going to seem to chase him down as Rocket Flare comes through. And Derp tries to walk away. Aphotic Shield going to pop. He's still alive. 20 seconds on the TP, though. He's going to die as the courier spots him, and hopefully for his sake it's to the creeps, but it's not. Wolf with one right click with the hook, and he will kill off Derp's Disruptor. Yeah, this is starting to become a concern on my part. This right here, 22 CS for QM. That is, you know, not ideal when you pick this sort of ranged safe laner who, for the most part, has some good matchups in the safe lane, but the rotations from Derp and Moose's Earth Spirit have really not yielded all that much. As mid lane, they're going to go in on YJS. He uses on the creeps his imprisonment, and therefore is simply left for dead. Reaction does come through. Roll is going to connect onto Wolf. They get two-man boulder smash, but iAnnihilate. Oh, he's going to get instantly. What happened? All right, guys, I'm lost. What happened? What just happened? Okay, my guess is that... I don't know, man. I don't know. I didn't see Aphotic Shield on I Annihilate. Could it be that the Abaddon TP'd in, Aphotic Shielded him, and then got glimpsed back to bottom lane? So Glimpse is on cooldown. That is my guess. Otherwise, there's a bug in Dota 2, and he just jaunted out of a lasso. I'm going to guess there's not a bug that bad. Someone would have noticed that. Alright, well, you know, thwarted gank attempt, and they lose YJS in the mid lane, and Wheel, you know, the probably fairly strong favorites going into this game, especially from my 2K draft analysis, are down 4 zip, and they're down 4K gold. So a litany of 4s that are not promising are the proposition staring Wheel in the face. MJW beginning to get to work on this Radiant Safe Lane Tier 1, and they've been working on it all game long. Moose tries to roll away. Battery Assault will stop him from doing so. They'll come through with the OD, but he can't even get in range to banish the Earth Spirit. He's being pursued by a Puck, a homing missile, and 3 other heroes, and as he's stunned, the call down will land the second missile only on his dead corpse. As CES... they made it work. These lanes didn't go nearly as well as I thought they would for the Batrider, and maybe homing missile is a good tool to deal with Batrider in your pubs, guys. I don't know. I didn't really watch the top lane enough. But all I saw was one rotation in from the Earth Spirit that ended up feeding. Now Derp in trouble mid lane. Roll comes through, does connect. Silence is there on top of Wolf, so he can't rocket flare, but... you know, just to the right clicks from the high ground and the urn tick, they do end up killing off the disruptor. Wolf does survive. He's got an urn already on top of Tranquils. Very farm clockwork. 5th overall in net worth. Only the Batrider of all cores is surmounting him at the moment on net worth. And this is just an impressive showing from CES, guys. I am through and through impressed with what they've been able to do through the lane. 7-0, 11 minutes, and somebody just make a clip of me talking about how disgustingly outdrafted I thought they were, and then this point in the game, and that'd be my low light as a caster. This is just incredible play. And it just didn't feel like the Disruptor and Earth Spirit got anything done for Wheel early on. Can't fight up against a Clockwork Abaddon as those two heroes. And they weren't able to get enough done with their Batrider. Just a 1 rotation in from Moose, and he just ends up dying top. So the Gyrocopters had, you know, for KVH, an absolutely free game. And does go for the Phase Aquila Mask of Madness. He's going to get lassoed up here, and there's going to be 1 stack of napalm, but the OD is nearby, more importantly. We'll banish him up. This may not kill him, and the nuke will get him down. Now YJS in trouble, hanging around to ensure the kill. They'll re-engage onto the OD, get him. Onox should be able to make it out with the TP, and he does. Wolf not able to get there in time with the battery assault, but lasso, blink dagger, revealed here 12 minutes in. Doesn't have an important kill for Wheel on the Gyro, who was the most valuable hero in the game. But they lose YJS once again. 3rd time in the game that the OD is going to take a spill. Now top lane, MJW going to be pursued here. Borrowed time already popped. And so he is in some serious danger as Derp looks to chase him down. Glimpse back. Well, they'll hold it for now. He'll make it into the trees. And Soul Ring. Aphotic Shield can be popped once again. He goes for the TP out. Shikuchi finishes him off. Or QM, and that was actually rather close. He could have shielded. Could he have? I don't know. Yeah, he has 58 mana remaining, so he would have had the 75 on top of that. He wouldn't have been able to shield. I'm a retard. I thought this gives you 150 mana. It does. How does he only have 58 mana left, guys? Did they increase the cost of TPs? No. If it gives you 150 mana, he should have 75. I'm lost. Maybe the Weaver right-click followed him and burned some mana. Is Weaver level 10? No, he's not. So, I'm, again, flabbergasted. We've had a lasso broke by unknown substance and mana missing on the Abaddon. I don't know. Either way, he dies. Second kill of the game for the Wheel Squad. Meanwhile, they're going to go in onto the puck. Waning Rift him under tower range. Roll forward is there. He gets the time lapse off, covered by the Static Storm. Now he's looking to fight. Puck getting low here. Does get the phase shift off. MJW under the borrowed time, and the hook shot comes through with Mario joining. I Annihilate gets the double kill. And a beautiful Static Storm from Derp to momentarily save his QM Weaver, but a full complement of heroes almost for the dire side. Just KVH in the bottom lane joining the fray here top. And MJW just continuing to battle with borrowed time. I Annihilate gets the phase shift off when needed. And Nox, nowhere to be found on the Batrider. CES just simply outnumbering Wheel top lane. Homing Missile following the bat. Oh, it'll continue to follow. And just for old time's sake, we will follow the missile. Alright, it was a good ride. Alright, I almost panicked. Thought I couldn't escape showcase mode for a second. Net worth dominated at this point. 7,500 net worth lead. It's about 500 net worth per minute gained in lead. And as far as the experience goes, looking to eclipse that 6,000 mark. Oh, Derp found out trying to TP, as Wolf with the battery assault could pretty much solo him here, and he does. Homing Missile will die, as does its target. And why not queue up a push here? Well, they don't have a full complement of heroes. Why just is showing in the mid lane. Just used his Imprison and is rather low. 700 health, but I Annihilate. Veil on cooldown, I suppose. I think he could have killed the OD with the Veil. Perhaps without it would have been a bit more difficult of a task. And as CES is backing out bot lane, that probably indicates that, I Annihilate along with his entire team didn't see too many heroes at the moment. So not willing to pressure onto the OD. Sure, when he watches the replay, he'll want to have that moment back. But look at the dire vision overall, and they didn't see this entire part of the map. So most of the heroes were here. I Annihilate for that reason, wisely so, not giving his advantage away. Smoke, Blink Lasso ready. All right, we'll see now. Can they? Oh, the illusion might just give him enough to scout this. Oh, it goes for the silence first. They have the Static Storm on top, though, and, well, they will overlap it here with the lasso, but more than enough to kill off the puck. It may have been that the Static Storm was kind of like this, and the kinetic field kind of like that, so he wanted to lasso him to keep him, within silence range, and makes sense. Secure the kill regardless. It'll be a big one. YJS, in the meantime, doing a little bit of farming and has the Midas, so he'll be able to jump the puck as far as positioning on that net worth chart. QM does have the mana break now, so he's going to be a lot more annoying. Well, may just want a time lapse right away there, buddy, and definitely does. However, Homing Missile following him. Call down is there as well, but Shikuchi pretty good against this Homing Missile. However, against all the rest of those spells, QM will end up dying. And kind of talked about this this Cog's pseudo counter to Weaver at the beginning. If you are on the move, it's probably best to just time lapse right away. I mean, these players are way better than me, don't get me wrong, but he's a matchup I've played many a times. And just a kind of split second of trading with the clockwork in the Cogs felt like kind of killed QM there. Either way, he would have had to time lapse into tower range and Shikuchi out this way. So it was a hard escape regardless, but that extra couple of seconds in the cogs certainly don't help his cause. 12-4, and still kind of that 7K net worth lead for CES's side. Force Staff has been picked up by Wolf, who's had a monster of an early game here. 4-0-7. Involved in 11 of the 12 kills for CES and hasn't even died. Incredible play. He's level 11 in this one. About middle of the pack, but highest of the supports. And he certainly has been most impactful, as the stat line indicates. YJS Shadow Blade on the OD. So perhaps looking for a Silver Edge. He's looking for Shadow Blade Hex right now. That's what's queued up. But, you know, maybe they think Silver Edge could be useful against the Abaddon. They are going to be aware of the Shadow Blade pickup for YJS as he shows in lane. Diffusal Blade pickup for the Weaver. A little extra mana break, why not? And QM maybe pursued out bot lane. KVH will drop a homing missile behind the tree, and QM will be forced to back and eat this one up. Meanwhile, with the Curse of the Avernus. Curse of Avernus. Why did I add a V to that? They'll get to work on this tower, and they'll actually bring it quite low. Now jump forward, imprison onto the Abaddon, and they get the lasso on the gyrocopter. Sandy's Eclipse is there, but somehow he's still alive with the magic wand charges. They're Force Staffing KVH out. Borrowed Time goes off. YJS is forced back. QM, though, doing some work on the Ogre. He gets the stick off, however, and he'll make it away as well. They'll turn back towards MJW, who's already used the Borrowed Time, and finally get a kill. Moo's got the negative earn tick, but he's going to survive on the Earth Spirit. And after all that, it'll simply be one kill as Wolf hooking out into the rear of his two-headed monster teammate. He'll be able to make it away. And KVH barely surviving with all the Force Staffs used there. It looked like they had multiple, but I suppose they only have the one on the clockwork. It could have been that he got forced by the bat, but turned. I don't know. Either way, he finally makes it out to safety. The Clockwork also with very little HP. The Ogre, one right click from death, but QM turned away as he kind of baited with the magic stick. Now QM running forward for Wolf. Has so much mana burn here and is going to trade this time happily in the cogs. In trouble now, though, as I Annihilate initiates here. He can... Oh, almost gets the time lapse off, but unable to do so. Down for 50 seconds, the Weaver is, as KVH and I Annihilate look to punish him on the back end of the Clockwork kill. And again, we see how the cogs can be quite a nuisance for the Weaver. You know, in that time, you don't think you want to time-lapse out of it, but you know, still may be worth it. And that's where often I see a Dragonlance build, you know, for the Weaver. And QM's had to go for more kind of team fight-oriented damage oriented, I should say, with the Diffusal Blade, but perhaps you know, Dragonlance Hurricane Pike kind of keeps him fighting in some of these scenarios, despite doing a little bit less damage. Debate to be had, I suppose. 1, 3, and 2 thus far is the stat line for QM's Weaver, and you know, maybe with more concern, you know, you look at him sitting on the 6th position at net worth. I mean, Onox is certainly farmed on the Bat Rider, trying to work on a BKB, you know, in addition to his essentials, Tranquil's Force, Blink, and Wolf does have the Battery Assault running, but just a little lasso duration should be able to get the kill off. Nice banish comes out as well from YJS. Call down, though, coming through here, and a 2-man silence from Annihilate. He'll get under the Shadow Blade. Onox will end up dropping. Homing Missile will connect. They don't have detection on these heroes, but YJS, he is going to have his Shadow Blade. Oh yeah, he walks into sentry range. Okay, well, we'll say goodbye to this OD. Hello darkness, my old friend. YJS has come to see you again. And third death of the game, fourth death, excuse me, for the OD. Moo's rolling out mid lane away from MJW. He's got the Midas working on the Radiance. Looks like he bought out the recipe. Get rid of some of that unreliable gold before dying. And isn't all that far away from Sacred Relic. just doesn't nearly feel like as big a lead as, you know, when we were looking at it at the 11-minute mark. It was 7-0. 11, 12 minutes, 5K net worth lead, something along those lines. I know they had about 7,500 net worth lead at 15 minutes. And at this juncture in the game, 23 minutes, you know, we do look and see kind of Wheel dragging it slowly back in their favor, not bleeding heroes quite as much. We saw, look at all these kills CES was able to attain, you know, in the first 15 minutes of the game. And they are much more widespread at this point. And although they are getting them, you know, Batrider and OD in the top lane, it doesn't feel like they're nearly as far ahead as they once were. However, they should have, well, they're going to go straight for the butterfly on KVH. I was going to mention maybe the BKB comes out first and then they're super fight ready against the OD and the Disruptor. But he's actually going to go a little greedy here, I would say, with the butterfly pickup. And going to look to continue to be on the top of this net worth chart. Weaver and OD, not great farming heroes, so I think with Bloodlust behind you and Flat Cannon, you can certainly make the argument that you're okay with scaling as CES's side, and, you know, for that reason, they do go for the butterfly. Now, you know, BKB is very good against OD, so is Evasion, so, you know, we can't write this off as, you know, a greedy choice necessarily, but, you know, when you add in the Disruptor to the equation, it feels maybe BKB would be a bit more effective in team fights, but the butterfly will be more effective as far as farming, split pushing, you know, having the phase and the flutter should keep you pretty safe, and of course you're going to farm at a quicker pace. But yeah, this is exactly the build that I characterize in the load screen as. Jump forward, Coil is going to find 2. Yules will dodge. Well, but not much of anything, let's say. The hook shot comes in and connects onto 2. And the orb flying through will get 2 more kills for CES's side. And yeah, you know, the exact build we were mentioning in the draft screen with him having very agility-oriented builds. Aquila, SNY, Mask of Madness, Butterfly. So KVH certainly a gyro player, as this is not atypical at all. And with the Bloodlust, they make quick work of the Roche. KVH, right up to the top lane, he'll go where he can clear this creepway with ease. And with 3 right clicks of the Flat Cannon, meanwhile Derp going down bottom lane. I Annihilate just taking him out here, and it looks like CES are cruising on the way to what at least is a good grip on this game and some map control. And it looks like my voice is purely counter to what reality is, as out of the draft kind of mentioned, you know, I felt Will looked good in the lanes and then they got crushed in the lanes. Soon thereafter, I mentioned that Will looked like they were kind of coming back into this one, and then they got crushed for 4 kills immediately after that. But YJS jumping forward. Lasso will find the MJW Baden, but he immediately pops the borrowed time. Now with the homing missile, Moose is in trouble. They block up the rolling bloater, glimpse back onto KVH, but still, they're looking to press forward as I Annihilate with the homing missile is going to find a second target. That's QM's Weaver. He can't get the time lapse off. Going for the 4 staff now, but still unable to use that or the time lapse. And yeah, he does back off for the Hurricane Pike, Dragonlance, but goes for the 4 staff first. Understandable against the Clockwork, it just doesn't have the value of the Dragonlance stats. Now 35 seconds on the sideline for the Weaver, as he, you know, did not have enough for buyback recently, and this will mean, well, easily a lane of racks, maybe the end of game 1 here. 20 seconds with Curse of the Avernus and KVH right-clicking as quickly as he is. They'll turn towards the second lane already. MJW going to get to work on the tower alongside KVH. 15 seconds, no Weaver. Split push being attempted by YJS and OD split pushing. Lol XD. And here by this bottom lane of racks, there's 2. 26 minutes in. Eliminated, and no response being queued up at all by Wheel. And that is just a back-breaking base breach. 27 minutes in here by CES. They will surge forward to a 17k net worth lead And you could pretty much say they're up by a gyrocopter in first place. 18k net worth, KVH. That's about the size of the lead. So the remaining 4 heroes, their sum of net worths is equal to the sum of the net worths of all 5 wheel heroes. And they have an 18k mega farmed KVH gyrocopter on top of that amount. CES putting the doubters to shame here. It is a best of 3, guys. Don't panic yet if your rares have been placed on the Radiant side. But this game's over. Not to sugarcoat anything, they can't even push super creeps out for Wheel's side. They really don't have anyone very good at that. Lanes just went far too well for CES, it felt. KVH just completely unpressured on his gyro. Level 22, highest in the game, net worth we've already spoken about. And he still has an Aegis here for another, say, minute and a half. Where's Lareth when you need it? Alright, CES will look to put an end to Wheel's misery in this first game, and it has been fairly long-lived. Last stand going to be attempted here. Boulder Smash going to fly, and defensive Astro will be onto the Weaver. KVH will stand forward, jump forward with the Waning Rift. They get the silence off onto QM. Call down comes through. He gets the time-lapse in the last second. Now Annihilate is going to be lassoed up, but the Glimmer Cape is there. Sanity's Eclipse does pretty much nothing. KVH still standing and fighting strong under his BKB, flacking off of the tier 3 with MJW. They get to work on the other buildings, and looks like on the south side, Annihilate doing some work on the puck. They'll try to take him out, and he will be hexed up and brought down by YJS. MJW going to be banished during the aphotic, or the borrowed time, but YJS taken out, and GG is called. QM going to drop as well off of the buyback. And CES with a dominant Game 1 performance here. And I was showcasing my absolutely stellar draft predictions at the beginning of this game. But at least I was able to predict I was wrong shortly thereafter. As CES, you know, they've got me sold that they are definitely capable of taking this series. They took that game with authority. And back to the drawing board for Wheel. We'll see, you know, how capable they are of just shaking this one off mentally and regrouping for their second attempt at CES. Game 1, guys. CES up 1-0. Galaxy Battles Emerging Worlds NA qualifiers here with MRP on BTS. Be back shortly with Game 2.